Hey guys, this is Torna, and today I wanted to talk about my top 5 factions that I'd like to see included in Tacticus. I did a poll recently where we were doing a giveaway, and I asked you guys what you'd like to see included, and then some people were asking, hey Torna, what would you like to see included? So I kind of wanted to go through my different ones that I'd love to see, and I'd love to kind of be able to play in the game, because there's a couple of these that have like a real I don't know, like a deep connection. Like I have some nostalgia towards them, so I'm pretty excited about them. So the first one here is the Thousand Suns, and they're probably the faction that I'm most looking forward to getting included in the game. They're actually the faction that I'm collecting in the tabletop game at the moment. My Thousand Suns slowly kind of building it up to versus my friend's Admech, and then we've just started collecting Second Army as well each. So we're slowly kind of building up our arms a bit too much. Going a bit too ham on it. Either way, my Thousand Suns, I'd be very excited to see exactly how they implement these guys into the game. So first of all, if you guys don't know Thousand Suns, they're kind of like the actual rubric marines that are within them are all these weird, like essentially kind of like automatrons. They were Marines, obviously, and Space Marines, and then they cast the rubric, and they ended up all turning into dust, essentially, and they're being commanded around by the Chaos Sorcerers. I do want to apologize if I get some of the lore slightly wrong in this. I kind of rely on my friend to kind of... He fills me in on all the lore, and me kind of reading everything that I can kind of see on the wikis every once in a while as well, kind of slowly kind of piecing it together, and I can get stuff wrong. So Thousand Suns, these guys being all like dust automatrons plus the sorcerers to be able to command them around, I could see this working really well. I'd love to see them kind of have like this weird kind of AI-esque kind of thing on some of the units. So like while you've built them up, they act as kind of like the way summons do at the moment, but instead of being like them doing it that way, like maybe similar to how Bellator, when Bellator attacks, he calls upon his other minions that he's summoned to attack. Maybe you've got like a sorcerer dude in charge, like Araman or whoever they end up doing, like a chaos sorcerer of some kind, to be able to kind of take command, and he attacks, and then all of the other Marines kind of come in and attack with him. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. We could have like some of the Tzangors to go alongside them, or something like a Tzangor to go alongside them as a member, or maybe some just demons of Tzech. I don't know. We'll see exactly which way they kind of end up going. I doubt they go full-blown add in Magnus, but that would be insane. Like if they end up going to the point that they add in Primarchs, it would be crazy, but I'd love to see him kind of come onto the field as well, as this flying sorcerer, just kind of completely decimating the battlefield or something. We had a talk with someone, I was talking to some people who are making some suggestions, and maybe they could end up doing like 2 different kind of game modes. So the normal one that we've got at the moment, but then one that's got like the Titans and the Primarchs and like Bane Blades and huge tanks and stuff like that. Because one of the cool things about the tabletop game is it's not just about the little soldiers and everything like that. Like it's not just about your squads of Marines, it's also about like your big tanks kind of battling in the background as well. So Thousand Suns being able to kind of have that sorcery, be able to pull upon like big demon Primarchs and stuff like that would be just really cool. The next one here is the Crimson Fist, and I'm going to say this first of all, I don't know an insane amount of the Crimson Fist, but I do have kind of like a nostalgia towards them. When I was first going to be collecting Marines way back, this is like talking like, I don't know, like 10 years back or something like that. Crimson Fists were one of the teams that I was looking at, just because their sheer willpower, like the fact that they had been mostly decimated by the orcs and stuff like that, but then you've got Pedro Cantor standing there holding the gate down and stuff. I don't know if that's still a part of the lore. I'm pretty sure it was a part of the lore where it was like holding them back by himself for ages. I might be confusing him with someone else, but either way, the Crimson Fists are probably what I'm going to be ending up painting my Primaris Marines, because I just love them so much. I'm really excited to see them potentially come into the game, and the fact that they can combine potentially some of that old Imperial Fist kind of mentality of like holding the wall and stuff like that would just be really, really cool. I'd love to see them. The next one is the Tau, because I think that they'd be very interesting to see in a game that has a lot of characters that come up into melee. Having a team that's very much about the range, kind of sitting back. You could add in a Kroot, so that way they have some kind of frontline tankish kind of character to be able to kind of get in the way and stuff like that of the enemy. But having them mostly be like sitting back, have like a battle kind of suit sitting back and shooting at them. You could go a couple different directions. You could have like Shadow Sun as well. You could have Farsight if instead of you wanting to have like the main team Tau with the Ethereals and stuff like that, you wanted to have a separate faction. You could have Farsight for some more like melee Tau. I'd love to see them eventually kind of add in, like, so for example, the Tau have like Farsight, have Shadow Sun, like a couple different factions of each thing. So like have like a couple different factions of the Orcs. So at the moment I think it's the Bad Moons that we've got at the moment in the game, but add in a couple of the other kind of contingencies of orcs and stuff, like just that are focused around different areas of the game, kind of going around the same kind of area. So like Tau having some long range and stuff like that, have a couple different versions of that, but then also have like one that's completely different with like Farsight coming in into melee in his massive battle suit, taking him out or something. Next up, we've got the Tyranids. Now, the Tyranids are already in the game, obviously, like they're the enemies, but I'd love to see them switch from the enemies and become like a playable faction as well. I love the idea of having like some of the giant Tyranid monsters kind of slowly marching through the battlefield, obviously going slow, but being incredibly tanky, and maybe like summoning swarms of Nids out and just kind of pumping them out. So you end up flooding the battlefield with just swarms and swarms of Nids. It would just be really cool. And it also like, there's ways to be able to counter that as well with like Vindicta and stuff. I think that would be really cool to see like a team that's kind of focused around that to kind of flood them. Now, the last one here is another team that I have a lot of nostalgia around, which is the Space Wolves, which was what I ended up going with my original Space Marines army. I've actually owned two separate armies of Space Wolves at two separate points, and now I'm kind of tossing up what I want to paint my new Primera stuff that I've got that's on the way. But either way, Space Wolves I have a connection with as well, because wolves are like my favorite animal of all time, and the lore behind the Space Wolves is just really, really cool. I love the idea of them just being so barbarically like savage. There's also like the fact that they've got the rune priests who are just in complete denial about the fact that they're actually using the warp and stuff, which would just be really cool to see how they go in the game and stuff like that. You could have like the Wolfen or something like that as either the same, like one of the Wolfen on the Space Wolves team, or you could have them be like a separate faction. So you could have Space Wolves and Wolfen as two separate factions. Would be really interesting to see exactly how they kind of go down that path. I get very excited talking about future stuff coming to games. I do the same in Marvel Strike Force. I talk about it, but in Tacticus, there's a lot of different stuff we could potentially see in here. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think, what you'd like to see in the game. These are the 5 factions I'm hoping that they add into the game: Thousand Suns, Crimson Fist, the Tau, Tyranids, and Space Wolves. But that's it for today, guys. Have a great day and goodbye.